5 solution-seeking questions. It's power-packed as a simple thing. And I guess
handwriting on that card is really neat and tidy.
Which one?
The one you're holding.
This one?
Yeah, that's fancy. It's like type.
It's not that good. It's much better than it used to be. You can't improve your handwriting with trying, and I'll tell you, capital letters make a big difference.
What is that called? It's called engineer?
No, architect script.
Architect.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we're doing what, 12 ways?
He has a little blip that is 5 questions for finding an answer.
Okay.
You got a problem. You're having problems. Ask these 5 questions.
Okay. Do I get to give you my problem and then we can walk through it? Or are you just going to go through it?
Why don't I give you the questions first and then we can do that?
Okay.
But I want to lead up to some of the theory here, which is that the quality of your life as an experience, we're talking about inner self experience, okay? We're not talking about how much money you have or, whether or not you like salted meat or
it's
something
just
like
waking up in the morning and feeling capable of going forward.
A great deal of your experience is driven by the questions you ask yourself internally.
Okay.
So asking good questions leads to certain kinds of experiences. Asking bad questions leads to other kinds of experiences. So what are you focused on can be shown to you by figuring out what are the questions you ask. So if you ask something like, how come no one loves me? You are assuming no one loves you. If you ask the question, how can I feel more lovable? You're looking to actually feel lovable. And the idea here is that your potential answers are like, it's like a sniper rifle with a scope. And if you've got a scope and you're looking over here, you can't look over there and you won't even see it move. Mm-hmm. And so by retuning your questions, you can retune what you find.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's kind of just, that's probably enough there. The questions you allow yourself to ask reveal what you are willing to achieve. Questions determine your awareness of potential, of your resources, and of your limitations. So you receive answers to the questions that you ask. As someone in Discord recently pointed out, well, Tony's trying to tell you how to manipulate reality with super magic. Yeah, he kind of probably is. He's a psychobabble guy, a little bit, psycho voodoo guy. That doesn't mean he's not right about how your internal question-asking mechanism either opens a door or closes a door to you, right? And so here's these 5 questions then, which are pretty good. So right now, you don't feel the way you want to feel about something. You can think about your problem and we'll bring it out in a moment. But
okay.
Question number 1 is, what's great right now? Question number 2 is, what's not great yet? Question number 3 is, what am I willing to do about it? Question number 4 is, what am I no longer willing to do about it? And question number 5 is, how can I enjoy it? I think these are really insightful, simple questions. And so I'm just working on the fact that I'm a depressed, anxious person who doesn't feel good most of the time.
Okay.
So asking the question, what is great right now? I would never ask that question unless someone told me I could. And once I asked that question, it's like, well, actually, this, there's kind of a lot that's really going right now. That feels good. Huh? What's not great yet? Well, this. What am I willing to do about it? Oh, well, I'm doing this. What am I not willing to do? That's a little more of a deep dive kind of thing. But then how can I enjoy the process? That's just a wonderful one to ponder. So I mentioned just depression and anxiety, but writing is also part of this for me. You guys are bored of me talking about writing yet? The hardest part of writing is starting. So the question I keep asking is, how can I enjoy the first moment? I don't know yet. But I never had asked that question before. I've always just been like, I hate starting writing. Well, then you're stuck there, aren't you now?
It's really interesting that you would then consider yourself still a writer. Like, if you hate it.
I hate starting writing.
Starting. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Once I get in a flow. It wasn't yesterday, but it was a week ago. I had got into Earth, and the guys were showing up for the barbecue, and I was still going. I was mad they were there. You're not now. Like, that's how into it I was. That was not how I started. I mean, then this is where, so what's my hang up there? Again, asking the question, how can I enjoy starting? Rather than living in the assumption that I don't enjoy starting.
Exactly.
That's the point, the power of the questions, right? So throw aside all the voodoo, all the power of positive thinking stuff, and say that asking a good question can help open a door in your mind to what you weren't willing to see before. So let's do your problem, if you got one.
Well, I'm debating. So I have two problems that I thought of, and one was not enough time to focus on projects I have. That's one problem. Another problem, so we can go that route, or we could go the relationship route, where just a relationship that was really was strong but troubled for most of my life, and then and then coming to terms with, like, you know what, I don't like where this relationship is. It doesn't bring me joy, and it actually has recently been very accusatory towards me as just me as a human. Like, my interests, my passions, when were shared, when I was vulnerable, were taken and thrown back in my face. So those are my two problems. Which direction do you want to go?
I don't know. I mean, the second one's juicy in terms of the listener.
Sure.
It might be rough, though.
Okay. Well, let's go with that second one then.
Okay. Well,
We'll do it. Juicy.
I mean, it's just filled with pain and angst and struggle.
Sure.
And,
I mean, I think it's real. I think it's what a lot of people are maybe facing.
Right. So the first question then is, what's great right now, which doesn't have to be what's great about them.
Okay.
So what's great right now can also be about how, in spite of the broken that you are dealing with this person, you have other great relationships, other places.
Yeah,
right?
I have a loving husband
Aw.
who's been by my side for almost 21 years.
I know, huh?
And from him, 5 amazing kids who I just love spending time with. Last night we had our Friday night get together, and there was a moment where I was like, I really need to not ignore the dog. I need to take him for a walk. And I offered the other ladies to come with, and our oldest daughter was the only taker, and we had the best walk. So,
Yeah.
Having those deep relationships in my own home are just, that's what I have wanted my whole life.
Yeah. So that's a good start. You can keep doing that with the question, what's great right now?
Yeah.
Right?
You
can shift to all sorts of things of what today is good.
And I love to think, I'm just going to say one more thing. I love to think about the fact that we have people moving to our town. So I have this one relationship that is actually physically extremely far away.
Right.
As far as the United States is concerned.
Right.
But I have people from all over the United States coming to either visit my husband and my family, or live near my husband and my family, join our congregation. Like, that's such a compliment and an honor.
Yeah.
And then you've opened up this position to me where I get to be on the YouTubes with you.
Sound like a boomer.
I know, that's why I said it. Well,
Less boomer.
Shout out to the YouTube, the YouTubes. Shout out to the boomers.
The oldest people.
I get to do this weekly, which opens me up to meeting and having not intimate relationships, but kind of reach out and touch relationships with brothers and sisters in Christ that I normally would have had to wait till paradise to meet. So that's a huge blessing. Yeah. So I have a lot of greats.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can take it down to, is there anything great about the relationship? Which, I mean, honestly, before I go there, I'm going to remember that thought. Okay. Based on what you said about the walk yesterday, it reminded me of something else that's just on the same card, which is my recognition that gratitude, so gratitude's attitude, blah, 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 shut up. Okay.
I kind of like that. Having an attitude of gratitude.
It's like totally legalistic to someone who doesn't have gratitude.
Oh, okay.
You're kind of like trying to make me be grateful for what? I feel terrible, right?
Yeah.
So
okay.
Gratitude is a positive feeling you remember.
Oh.
That opened a door in my head. Right. Again, we talked about yesterday in the car how I'm kind of amazed at how few positive memories I have, and it has to do with the adrenalization of fight or flight and all this kind of stuff. But just to realize that even with that, so let's take the birth of our firstborn or our fifthborn, both of which memories are stronger in, like, the moment I held and saw the face is strong, and the other three kind of lost in the blur a little bit. But take those moments, and I can remember the fear. That was part of my hiding from my reality.
I'm just going to say, the first, we had nobody there, so it was just us. And the fifth, we had nobody there.
How fascinating.
It was just us.
Yeah.
Huh. So it's interesting that moment of husband and wife bonding over the baby, I think, is kind of important.
I remember parts of the deliveries of the others. I just don't remember that moment of when you're still, you just got recovered. I'm getting held the baby.
Yeah. The baby's finally clean.
Yeah.
And able to be swaddled.
And I see the face, and I can see the face of both of them really clearly, although it merges with their current adult face.
Yeah. They haven't changed much.
But if I just take that thought and remember it on purpose, the feeling that I have is not all bad. I can feel the fear, but I can also say, but that's not all I felt. Here's this other feeling. And I can say, oh, that's what gratitude is. So have an attitude of gratitude. How?
Yeah. It's like have faith.
Think about something. Yeah, right. Think about something that was good once and remember how it felt. That's gratitude. And then use that memory to interrupt the patterns. Practice remembering that memory because it's going to make you feel good every time you think about it. That comes out of your memory of last night's walk with our eldest.
Yeah.
What is great now about your relationship with this person can be, don't have to deal with them that much.
Yeah, there's an emotional disconnect on my part where I don't have that. I'm not allowing myself to be controlled by their responses. So I'm not trying to change myself to get the response from them that I want. I keep turning.
I know you do, but it's okay. You can do it.
So when, and that came from my most recent read of boundaries, like recognizing that one of the boundaries that I think we overlook, one of the healthy boundaries we overlook is our ability to allow other people to be discontent with us in our conviction.
So what is great right now about that relationship is that you are learning how to exercise your own boundaries in the relationship. So again, what is great right now gives you a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. What is not great yet is the next question. And what makes this situation difficult is it may never be great in the way that you idolize it to be. And I
Yeah.
very carefully using that word, but you imagine, you create an image of a future that you now will try to control and make exist as if you were God. That's not what is not great yet really needs to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it's trying to get at the achievable, the real that you are going to work for. Now, again, the question you ask will limit it. If you actually believe there's no reconciliation in this relationship, well, then there won't be. If you believe that there is a potential for reconciliation, then there's a potential for reconciliation, right?
I don't know. I guess what's not great yet is, not great now.
Not great yet.
Yeah, okay.
Because the point of the question is to imply that it could be.
It could be. Is I don't really know what I want the reconciliation to look like.
Yeah.
And part of that is recognizing what reconciliation actually is.
I'm going to stop you, though, because that's such a wonderful answer. What's not great yet? I don't know what I want reconciliation to look like. So the answer isn't even reconciliation. The answer is learning what you want.
Yeah.
Very important.
Right.
Yeah.
So understanding that reconciliation requires that the person that I've forgiven earns my trust back.
Yeah.
Is really key to me because it's not on my shoulders.
Yeah.
So I cannot control their responses. I cannot control their actions or what they do or say to me in passing or, whatever. But I can control my own responses to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been committed to any time this person reaches out to me, responding in kindness. Not necessarily spending a ton of time or energy or emotion on it, but responding kindly.
You just did the next few questions.
Oh.
So what am I willing to do about it? Respond kindly. What am I no longer willing to do about it? Spend a lot of emotion on it. So you jumped into those questions, which is, it shows you're asking these questions in a sense already.
Yeah. Which
boundaries is going to do if you're really taking ownership of your own internal workings. But back to what is not great yet, what is not great yet is that you don't know entirely how you want it to look. What is not great yet is that this person has not earned your trust back.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take control of that, but that's actually great. That you're realizing you can't take control of that is a great thing, right? What are you willing to do again? You're going to set a limit.
Right.
What are you not willing to do? You're going to set a limit. You've done that. The final question then is, how can I enjoy the process? And this is a little bit of a gamifying of it. Like, and again, that to me, that one's the one that you got to chew on. Like you go through this list and you can kind of answer it, and then, I got to chew here. How can I enjoy the process? Now, the example that Tony gave in the book is helpful, but not at the same time. So he talks about how he got back from being on the road for 100 days, found out that his business partner had put the company $700,000 in debt, and then run off with some money and needed to be sued. Also had 100 phone calls to make to various people of family, powerful government officials, like this huge list of phone calls. So what do I do with, what is great, what is not great, And so he's talking about that, but he gets to that list of the phone calls. I've got to make these 100 phone calls. Like, I got to do it this week. Like, I got to start today. This is the first thing I have to do. And now, not everyone can have this answer, but he remembers that he has a jacuzzi, and he hasn't used it in 6 months. He's not been in it 6 months.
Yeah.
It's like 10 in the morning. He goes, he fires up the jacuzzi, he gets his speakerphone, he starts making phone calls.
Nice.
So how can I enjoy this?
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to sit at a desk and make phone calls for 6 hours, but I'll sit in this jacuzzi and tell everyone I call, hey, I'm in the jacuzzi, let's talk. And it kind of becomes a joke a little bit. And, he says, I was so wrinkled when I got out.
Sure.
But, and so it's helpful in illustrating the idea, but it's also not helpful because obviously, like, not all of us are going to be able to use that as our answer. And he definitely has resources that few people have financially.
Yeah.
But how can I use what I can control to create more enjoyment in the problem is a place for a lot of creativity. And I mean, on my writing thing, it's like, well, I don't sit in a dark room. I go sit outside by the lake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's essential at this point. You mentioned, if not that, you know, driving to a library, driving to a Starbucks, driving to somewhere else where you can sit with just your project will, you know, help you push it into beginning.
It kind of puts blinders on so that you're not distracted by
But that's like
everything.
project task oriented, and you're dealing with a much bigger question.
Yeah, my initial thought was, oh, you know, I can still just be me and share, you know, what I'm doing if I want to. That's the trick though, is that, like, has the vulnerability been earned by this audience? And I don't know if it has.
So part of the way
I know it hasn't.
Part of the way you can enjoy this comes out of the what I will do, what I will not do anymore, and then freeing yourself from feeling like there's a need for more. So I can enjoy it by just letting it be what it is and doing other things I enjoy instead of worrying about it.
Right. So that makes me think about, okay, so what relationships do I have that are here that actually do, you know, physically here in my space that I live in, that do, that have earned my vulnerability, and I can invest in them. Yeah. And that actually brings me enjoyment too. Yeah. Because those people are really precious and fun
so I think these are good questions.
I agree.
You know, what is great now?
That's a good
what
exercise.
Is not great yet? What am I willing to do about it? What am I no longer willing to do about it? And how can I enjoy the process? And all the idea that by asking the right questions, you open the possibility of seeing things that if you have been mentally trained to ask the wrong questions, you know, why does nobody like me?
Yeah.
You're just reinforcing the negative self-talk at a certain point. So
I think that also that those questions are really good if you were to be on a date to say, hey, do you have any problems in your life right now? If you're trying to catch up or just get to know. And then those leading questions are going to give you a very big insight into the person's heart and emotional state.
What's great in your life right now? Yeah. What's not great yet, but it's going to be.
Yeah. That's true. You could just go about it with life as opposed to focusing narrowing in on a problem.
These questions, the reason I was driven to these questions and wrote them down is because they're not very narrow. They're wonderfully applicable.
Yeah.
And there's nothing either Christian or non-Christian about them. They're just sort of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.